You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Man, is that the reefer man?
That's the reefer man.
Marijuana.
I believe he's losing his mind.
I think he's lost his mind.
Reefer Madness Radio.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? It's Friday in the Mile High City, October 18th. Reefer Madness Radio, sitting here with my good friend Jay.
Hey, yo.
Also got Dain from CRTV joining us for the show. What's up, Dain?
What's up, guys?
Heck yeah. So, yeah, this is gonna be like a nice, and we have Mona sitting over here. Mona, say hi.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. We're just gonna have a nice little session. I feel like it's just gonna be all four of us, the whole show. We got some subjects to talk about.
We sure do.
We got some things to get into.
We have another special guest.
Plus, we have another guest.
Yeah.
So
We'll
this
make
is
that
gonna
a
be awesome.
surprise, even though I talked about it on my Facebook page earlier today.
Jam-packed. So what's going on, everybody? How goes the week?
It's been a pretty busy week. That is for sure.
How so?
It's been a productive week for me on the archaeological front. That's all I want to say
Nice.
about that. So that's a good thing to say, you know. So I'm really happy about that.
Keeping busy with the day job?
Yes, trying to keep busy with the day job, right?
Heck yeah.
I'm also really excited for the Secret Cup, which is in town right now. It's happening right now down at the Hood Lab. I was there a little earlier today, and it's rocking. you
Yeah.
know?
So is it what's going on? Is it like a dinner? Is it just
Yeah,
like a
it's
social
the
event?
VIP dinner tonight, so people with VIP tickets can go down to the Hood Lab and get dabbed out and eat some fine food. I was down there earlier, and it's amazing because the judges are just all around with their huge collections of dabs, and they're just dabbing out.
Nice.
It's really amazing, and it's really cool to see them like go through and talk about the terpenes and talk about the flavor and how long it lasts. And
Right, because the judges, again, for people who didn't watch the last show, the judges are the competitors.
right.
So they should know all about it.
They should. That's what makes it a unique competition.
Was anybody talking about trying to pick out their own? They're like, I'm pretty sure I found mine.
There were a few people who were convinced that they had found their own. That's actually happening, I think, probably right now down at the Hood Lab. They're probably trying to pick out their own. My understanding, it's really hard to do that, but it can be done. It's been done a couple times in the past, so we shall see. I'd like to see how that comes up and all that there stuff. I'm excited to get back there after the show.
For sure. No, it'll be cool. So, Dain, what's up, man? You just came from work. So, those people that don't know, you got your YouTube, CRTV, Cannabis Review TV. That's been going strong. You have not been out here that long. You've already got the YouTube, and now you're working with River Rock doing what?
Yes, I manage. Is my mic on? There we go. I manage all the social media, or most of the social media, with my partner Tony. He's been running the marketing since day one, but he brought me on board to kind of help with the Facebook posts, help do videos, help behind the scenes. A lot of the stuff you guys seen on River Rock TV, I've actually been helping with that, starting with the Seattle Cannabis Cup video, bringing out some new series and stuff for YouTube, and just doing what I love to do, but professionally. It's really awesome. It's
So
been a
you
dream.
were working with them, you were trimming originally, right? And then you started bud tending, and then this came along, right? Like,
Yeah. That's kind of the progression. I started trimming there last year around the same time, and then I left this spring to go bud tend at a different dispensary, and then I got brought back to bud tend at River Rock, and then just recently got promoted to the whole social media aspect of the job.
no, it's because
Right on. Congratulations.
Yeah, I just keep asking because I get a lot of people that ask, like, I live in another state with prohibition. It's my dream to move here and work in the industry. So to see someone like you came from Indiana. How long have you been out here?
About a year and a half.
Yeah, see, so like, for me, that doesn't seem that long to get to where you're at, right? It actually seems relatively quick to be in the position you're in.
Yeah, I mean,
It probably doesn't, to you, it seemed like
Well,
it's
I
a war of
always-
attrition, but
yeah, I always had a goal. I always kind of knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know where I wanted to do that. And in a lot of my jobs, I've had over 8 different dispensary jobs, and none of the other dispensaries really appreciated social media, appreciated YouTube, or appreciated that aspect of it. And at River Rock, when I wanted to film the buds or take pictures and stuff, they always encouraged that.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of grown. I found a really good fit there as far as.
well, it's
a
awesome. It feels
dispensary.
like, it's something that you would bring to the table. It's like I guess I would say it's a skill. I mean, not only that, but if you're passionate about it, then it's something that they should
Definitely.
encourage, right? Encourage your employees to be passionate. That's what
I agree.
That's
It's
what we
it's
want.
more than just a skill. It's a commodity. I mean, you're bringing a face to their place, right? And I think that goes a long way to building a relationship with the customer base, right?
Definitely. Several times a week, they still actually have me bud tending one day a week just for that. They'd be like, hey, I seen you on YouTube. Before it was I've seen Cannabis Review TV, but now, they could see River Rock TV even and see a familiar face. And like today, for example, I had a really heartwarming moment with a Crohn's patient who has seen a lot of my talking about Crohn's and that kind of GI tract disorder online. And they actually came in and wanted to try some of the cannabis juice because of that. And I actually got a chance to meet them. And it was really just a heartwarming moment as I tried to explain how Crohn's gets started. It's a lifestyle and a diet thing. And I don't know, we were just both teared up at one moment in time. And it was just a real moment. And that's been the major thing for me that I've loved the most working at the dispensary is bud tending, because you do get those real moments. You do get to meet the patients. You do get to see who the faces of cannabis are, who the people are smoking it,
You know what? I want to interject something here because I think it's really important. With the advent of recreational cannabis just around the corner in January, and I see this thought rearing its ugly head across the country, that somehow medical cannabis isn't necessary because we have this recreational market and people can just get it there. Two things. One, that what's the word I'm looking for? It lessens the legitimacy of medical cannabis, right? Which is a real thing. I myself am a patient. It helps me with my physical ailment, right? And I know other people with lots of ailments. Some
physical
less,
and mental.
Right? Some less severe than mine, some much more severe than mine, right? But it's a real thing. And I think we need to, get that across and make sure people don't just assume that it's not necessary anymore, because that just drives me crazy, you guys. It really does.
Definitely. That's one thing that I see coming up is a major shift in the market between places that operate more for the 21 and older medical side and places that are operating more for cultural and recreational. Maybe separating some of their products. You might see more patches and pills and syringes in the medical side. You might see more heady glass work and really high THC strains and like shatter and stuff in the culture side, but I think that's going to get split. And I know that's what we're trying to do at River Rock is target the 21 and older legal medical market worldwide. So people who want to fly here, live for a couple months, get healed of the cancer, get on the program, understand how to do it at home, go back.
Yeah, I mean, because I've had people that call up that like I live in Texas. I have cancer. What am I gonna do? And I'm like, you're shit out of luck.
Yeah.
Like that's. I mean, you want to be compassionate about it, but
move out of Texas.
yeah, I mean, it's like, well, I'll move here,
it's
but
reality.
like they have family. They're on probation. They just can't leave their state, so they're stuck there. It's like, well, then you can, I don't know. If you're in probation, you still
can
can't
break
leave,
the law. is
Yeah,
what you
but
can
like
do.
still, those people that are like just couldn't get it before can now come to Colorado and get it. Yeah, live. I think that's a great idea to think about living here for a couple of months to heal up, like a sort of holistic thing, even like that incorporates cannabis.
There are cancer centers across Colorado, in the mountains especially, that are, chemotherapy centers, mind you. These aren't cannabis centers. These are, chemotherapy cancer centers, but they're in beautiful places for a reason. If you're going to heal yourself, you might as well come to a beautiful place.
Yeah.
My brother, who doesn't speak to me, he has cancer. It's relapsed. He's in Maryland, right? He has no recourse. I met some people earlier tonight from Maryland, and they were telling me, they still get pretty much swag weed over there. If you're lucky, you might get some locally grown, but to get dank bud on the East Coast, you have to have connections.
You have to know people.
Yeah.
And that's something that's
Here,
that
you
needs
can
to
actually
come.
find dank buds on the ground. Like literally, the first year I moved to Colorado, I was walking in a state park, and more than once this happened to me. And oh, look, a bag. Oh, look, there's a joint in it. Oh, and a couple of buds too. Sweet, right?
funny you say that. My girlfriend, actually, I asked her, because she had said she'd smoked cannabis before. I was just asking her about her time and experience. And she said she had found a bag in the parking lot took it home, sat on it for several weeks, and decided, fuck it, I'm going to smoke this tonight. And that was her first experience with cannabis.
Right
here
on.
in Colorado.
That's awesome.
That is crazy.
What a good first experience. They're all unique. Like, that's a good. I just was looking at the bag for a couple weeks. Like, fuck it, I'll smoke it. Like, I guess after a couple weeks, it's like some sort of rule where it's probably not contaminated with anything else.
Right,
You just
probably
sit it for a
dried out
couple
on her.
weeks. That's awesome. No, I mean, from what I understand as far as the adult use or recreational thing is going to go, that what I heard, there's roughly 50 businesses, 50 dispensaries that have kind of been going through the application process that will be able to welcome anyone over 21. There'll be like training. So as far as recognizing IDs, if you're 21 or over, if you live in a different state or if you live in this state versus medical, and they'll be able to operate in the same building, the same premise, just they'll have to keep inventory separate, and you'll be limited because things like, edibles, the maximum edible is 100 milligrams. So like I got this can of punch that's like 200 milligrams. Well, you just can't have things like that. Like all these like the chocolate bars that are 300 milligrams, 175 milligrams, those just won't be available. All the oils and all those things that are a higher dose, I think you'll see a lot less product. And then, so the edible companies also will have to switch labels. So you'll see I think you'll just see a less array of products.
They're gearing up already. It's all going to be in place. It's going to be amazing. The only thing that I'm concerned about as far as January is prices are going to go up, and the supply is going to plummet in the first couple of months. I think this is the word on the street is stock up. If you live here, stock up, because come January 1st, they're going to be like a swarm of people coming to smoke our buds.
Yeah.
One thing that we've done at work to kind of combat that is we are going to set a certain number of recreational sales per day and then shut the door when that happens, whether it's 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Interesting.
And keep our medical side open all day, and we're going to make sure those patients never run out of weed. But how many shops are going to do that? I'm sure a lot of shops want to switch to recreational only, just an open door policy.
When the
Yeah, I
doors
wonder.
Come in and buy.
Yeah, I mean, the two dispensaries I work at, Evergreen and Colorado Harvest Company, they're going to do dual. Well, it'll be both. But, I mean, they haven't, and they've talked about, like, starting even now to start holding some back from the grow, keeping it in the cure jars, in anticipation of, like, come January, you are going to see, like, a lot of sales. And I think the rec sale, like, the prices will go up, but I would like to see, and I would expect that the medical prices will stay the same. If not, why wouldn't they go lower? Like, businesses are making more money. Like,
exactly, and that's what I'm hoping for too. And that's why I've told a lot of patients that ask, should I keep my red card? I've told them yes, because they're going to have access to better medicine, higher quality medicine, and it's going to be cheaper. It's not going to have that tax.
cheaper price point, and hopefully a cheaper without the tax. So,
which is great. If you're a resident, you're in. It's cool. It's kind of like a cultural thing as well, almost at this point for a lot of red card holders.
oh yeah.
I feel like I hate to go on the record and say this, even if they're not using it medicinally, cannabis is a medicinal plant every time you use it. I think a lot of those users even are still going to get their red card.
Yeah, I mean,
instead of just switching over to the 21 recreational system.
Yeah, the therapeutic, right? It's like medical, therapeutic. There's a lot of words you can use, but I think we all know that, I don't know, we all respect it, and it's worthy of respect, however you choose to use it. Like,
Even for stress and anxiety, even if you're just purely changing your headspace, that's medicinal.
Absolutely.
That's how I look at it.
Absolutely.
headspace. Under a headspace. I think of it like a head change, but I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something I picked up somewhere.
Right on. So we were going to talk today about some things that have been in the news that have kind of bugging us. Let me just check with Sam real quick. How many minutes do we have?
Tell a break.
We have 1 minute, so we'll talk
We
about
can
this.
tease.
We'll do
We can
this
tease
later
what
on in
we're
the
gonna
show. We're going to talk about some things that have come up in the news that have been really bugging the two of us.
Yeah, because that's been the idea of the show, is to kind of get into some topical things, some news things, and to be a little bit opinionated. And yeah, there's been things that have been chapping us, bothering us.
Certainly worth talking about. So when we come back, we're going to get into some of that. But since I have another second, I noticed some comments. I'm just going to say this, before I became a red card holder, I walked into a dispensary in Boulder. I did so because I wanted to have the experience. I wanted to know what it was like, and it was amazing. You can go into most dispensaries without a red card. They just will give you a visitor's badge, and they won't sell you anything. But if you want the experience of seeing what it's about, because seeing, it's really, truly amazing. And there's a wide variety of types of shops out there, right? There are the kind where everyone's wearing a tie and a lab coat, and then there's the totally hippied out place, and you got your dubstep place, and, you know, there's a gamut. You can see what it's all about. But,
And
you
then
know,
because of most of the shops then that will go recreational are just going to be
Right, they're
will
gonna be
all
those
be dispensaries that just switch over. So it'll be when you walk in, you will get that dispensary feel. You will have that sort of experience.
and it's an
But that's
amazing
interesting. You
feeling.
could just
It's
go
a
to-
great culture, you know.
Yeah,
It's
I
pretty
love
amazing.
I think Colorado has a great model. Like the idea of having dispensaries. I think even compared to other states that have dispensaries, they've been around so long. There's so many products and other companies that are producing edibles and just all kinds of things. It's just awesome to walk into a
The
dispensary.
one thing I'll say, and I haven't experienced them everywhere, but in Denver, our dispensaries have their shit together. I mean, it's basically what it boils down to.
Yes.
You walk into a dispensary, it's a professional outfit. You get good buds consistently. You're going to find the same company's edibles consistently from shop to shop, you know. So we really do have it good here, I must say. Brag, brag, brag.
Yeah, good time, good place to be a smoker.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah. Right on. Well, let's take a break. We'll
All right, when we
back.
come back, we'll talk about some more stuff.
Heck yeah.
The Law Office of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provides criminal defense, family law, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running a medical marijuana center, optional premises cultivation operation, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout the state of Colorado. We're focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We will do everything we can to meet your expectations. WarrenEdson.com. Edson, Mayton, and Matz in Denver, 303-831-8188, and in Aspen, 970-948-7183. WarrenEdson.com.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On grass. Runongrass.com.
Hi, Josh Stanley here from National Geographic's American Weed. I'm here with my brothers, and we've just recently put together a foundation in Colorado to allow for cancer patients and other patients of debilitating conditions to be able to get a hold of cannabis-based oil that's just about free of charge. I've just about had it with seeing sick patients suffer needlessly just because they can't afford the proper medication. That's what the Realm of Caring is going to change. Visit therealmofcaring.com. The website will be complete and up on 4/20 of 2012. But until then, please contact any of us Stanley brothers directly through email. You can get us at gratefuljosh@hotmail.com. Now come on, Colorado. We need to take care of each other. Join the Realm. That's realmofcaring.com. Thank you so much.
And we're back to Reefer Madness Radio. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. So, sitting with us now is Larisa Bolivar, and she is one of the executive chair peoples from the No on AA campaign. And I think we've mentioned a few times now that we're going to be bringing this up because the elections are just a couple weeks away, right?
Well, people already have their ballots in the mail, right? And they
It's
can
true.
already make that decision and cast it in. So it's time to talk about it.
Yes, indeed it is. And we're definitely going to talk about. There are a couple other things we wanted to talk about today, too. So before we get into that, Larisa, if you don't mind, I just wanted, there's just some things that have been really bugging us lately, and we wanted to take an opportunity to talk about it. And that is police brutality, you guys. Every week, I'm reading in the news from around the country more than one story about police overstepping their bounds, and frankly, they're murdering people. They're murdering people in the name of the law, right? And so I picked out 3 examples. I'm going to put that down because these are worth talking about. I picked out 3 examples to talk about, right? This one from October 16th, right? This just really kills me. So police, I'm trying to remember where this was. In Los Angeles counties, go figure, right? Okay, so in Los Angeles County, deputies stormed into an older couple's home because they smelled meth, is what they thought. They thought they smelled meth outside, so they got a warrant and did a midnight raid, right? These people are in their 80s. The police come in the middle of the night. They claim that the man shot out of bed and pointed a gun at them. They plugged him full of holes in his own home, in his own bedroom. They murdered this man. They found no meth in the home, no chemicals, nothing, right? They had the older couple had their son living with them, and he had a small quantity of cannabis with him, that they found. The article that I have didn't state the amount of cannabis, which leads me to believe that it was less than an ounce, right? And the police decided that they could use that little amount of cannabis to justify their raid and the murder of this 80-year-old man in his bedroom, right?
Not even the meth justifies that.
Yeah,
Just
I would
that is
agree.
the point,
I would
right?
agree
Exactly
completely with
so.
that. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whatever it was, whatever substance it was. There's no reason for you to be storming into someone's house, and then when they react, as a normal person would react when people are storming into your house and you hear things in the middle of the night, and you just shoot somebody? Like, how is that not murder? Like, I don't understand.
Exactly. And the cops are supposed to protect us, not murder us in our bedrooms, right? And the thing is, I've really come to the point where I won't call the police because I know that as soon as you involve a police officer, you're inviting violence. You're inviting violence into the situation. I'll tell you what, a few months ago, my car stalled out in an intersection, and a very nice Denver police officer pulled in behind me and put his lights on. And he was very helpful and respectful, but he scared the living fucking shit out of me, right? Because his attitude the whole time was guarded and suspicious, and I felt just the worst negative vibe from this guy. Even though he was there to help me, I was terrified. So, what does that show you? I got two other examples that I want to talk about. In Dallas, two policemen confronted a mentally ill man in his 20s, I think, maybe in his 30s, I forget, in front of his own home with his parents inside, right? And the police claim that he lunged at them with a knife, I think they said. And they shot him dead. They shot him multiple times in his own driveway. Well, unbeknownst to the 2 police officers that perpetrated this heinous crime, the neighbor had a security camera and caught the whole thing on tape. The tape clearly shows the disturbed man sitting in a wheeled office chair, not a wheelchair, but an office chair that he could roll around. When the police car arrives, you can see him roll back into his own driveway a little bit alarmed. The police get out of the car and approach him. He stands up from his chair with his arms at his side, and he does not move. The police shoot him. They shoot him in cold blood. They just outright murder him. He falls to the ground, and then they come over and mess with him, right? And then they claim that he acted aggressively towards them. I don't care what he said to them, right? It is murder. There's no justification for that. And I don't understand why this is happening over and over and over. These 3 instances all happened this week. All this week, right? Oh, I'm sorry. This one might have happened last week. The woman in Skokie, Illinois, who was in a jail cell, right? She's already in custody. She walks out of her jail cell for some reason we don't know because there's no audio. She gets told to go back into her jail cell. She starts walking into her jail cell. The officer grabs her from behind and shoves her into the cell, she loses her footing and face first smacks into a cement bench, right? It crushed her face. She had to have reconstructive surgery. Okay.
And like the guy was not.
The guy's not charged.
Yeah,
no.
he's not fired. Wasn't fired. He was not brought up on charges. There was nothing. And
When I
it's
was
the same
a
thing with
kid,
that middle case. It's just like, why? I don't get why they can't apprehend someone without having to kill them. Like,
right.
Like I feel like it's a lack of training. There's some sort of like a lack of just attitude. Go ahead.
Well, and I have a bachelor's in psychology. By no means am I a psychologist, but my theory is the type of people that they're recruiting. There seems to be a more sociopathic type of personality, and such that you're recruiting people that have a lack of compassion, and when they have a lack of compassion, and they're more prone to violence, especially nowadays. You've got more paramilitary type training, especially in the D.C. area where I'm from. But all across the board now that with terrorism and all these different threats.
They get
that
out of
they're
the
facing.
military and go into
Or
the
they
police.
get out of the military and they've got PTSD or other issues and they've been desensitized and they go into the police because that's a natural procession.
Yep.
So I think that we want to have a police force that we feel safe around. All communities should have that. There should be some more citizen oversight, and I think that maybe some more psychological analysis and testing of this, because we cannot have this type of brutality at all. At all. It's just unacceptable in any community, marijuana or not.
Yeah, none of these cases are marijuana related. None of them. This is just outright police brutality, and I think we need to talk about it. Right? We got to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be brought up because that's always been my thing. Is that I just don't feel like there's any sort of oversight, or nobody's going to do anything about it, or Go ahead, Dain.
Sorry, that's exactly wanted to agree with your point. Is that and Mark's too, we do need more citizen oversight and more transparency. But I feel like since 9/11, even just the whole culture of law enforcement and what it is to be a cop has changed.
Oh yeah.
And so it's okay to their brothers when they come home if they commit these heinous crimes. And like you said, a lot of them are being recruited right out of the Army. And a big thing is our own government is outsourcing ex-military equipment to all these police departments for free. We're giving them gear. We're dressing them up like they're in a war zone when they're supposed to be just peacekeepers on the street.
And the law has changed in such a way that every citizen is now a suspect or
yeah, they're not serving and protecting. It's like all the
they're
citizens
looking
are
for
the
terrorists,
enemy.
right? They're trying to root us all out.
Yep.
It's a completely different mentality. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to serve and protect. And I remember watching cop shows like Emergency 911 or when I was a kid, or SWAT.
Or CHIPS.
Right, or CHIPS. And the cops were always the good guys, and they came to help. And they always diffused a situation, right? The SWAT guys almost never killed anybody, right? But these days, I feel like you can't invite a cop into any situation without expecting violence. And that just is wrong,
Or him leaving without somebody being arrested.
Yeah, or shot. Or your dog shot and killed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I feel like there's, because I'll post things on Facebook where I'll point these things out, I'll put the news stories out, and I get responses from people that have police in their family, and it's like a sort of they have families, they want to come home for dinner, and it's just trying to protect them. But it's I get the feeling like as a if you're protecting, then you should be really kind of going out of your way to serve the people that you're protecting, and maybe you should be not waiting for, you shouldn't be shooting first, I guess is what I'm getting to.
Yeah, there you go. I understand we have a call. Speak, caller.
Oh. Hello.
Who do we have?
This is Colton from Minnesota. I've called in before. How are you guys doing?
Right on, Colton. What do you got for us, real quick?
So, real quick, we had actually in October, we had in CBS, the headline was cop cameras could back up on complaints of use of force. Basically, what they're stating that we basically have cameras nowadays that can be fitted onto policemen, attached to their phones, and it can be recorded every action that they take. Not only just from they're basically saying that cop cameras just in cars aren't really sufficient. Why can't they be on a hat or on the part of their shirt? I wonder what your guys' opinion on that is, and if you guys think that's a valid thing. I'll take my comments off here. Goodbye.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you calling.
I I think that's an excellent question. You know, I'm actually mixed about that because I want someone to be able to police the police, but at the same time, I don't want the police necessarily getting everything on film either, right? So that's I think there's a real sticky legal quagmire there that would have to be addressed. And frankly, I am no lawyer.
Well, you could always do citizen oversight boards, which the Colorado Progressive Coalition has one that monitors Denver police. And then there's also Cop Watch. So there are programs that do this, but they need to be more robust. But, you know, the police cite, you know, secrecy, and, you know, they're not supposed to discuss cases and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, we as citizens deserve to feel safe.
Right. We shouldn't have to question whether we're safe from our own police. You know, I have a daughter, and I like to introduce her to police officers, especially when they're in uniform in the neighborhood, because I want her to know that if she's in trouble, she should be able to trust one of these people to help her. But how can I teach her that when I don't trust our people in uniform? I am suspicious of every person in uniform, right? It's just gotten to that point for me.
Well, and I was reading that article about those the fake drug stops that they were putting up, where it's they have the signs where it says, like, you know, drug stop 1 mile, like canine dogs, but it's not
because it's illegal.
So they actually then they'll have police like on the next exit trying to get people that are leaving.
Yeah.
So it's like the writer of the article was saying, well, like if you have your daughter's in the car, how do you say, okay, there's cops coming up, we're gonna, you know, they're gonna look in our car, but everything's fine, don't worry. Oh, sorry, they lied, but it's okay. They have the right to lie. Like,
right.
You know, things like that. It's a double
horrible
standard.
Mixed message to send.
Hypocrisy.
Yeah. You know, and you're talking about sending it to your children, but it's being sent to us by the people that are supposed to be taking care of our government and our system. And they work for us, right? We are not their slaves. They are our slaves, right? It should be that way. Whom do you serve? Speaking of whom do you serve, it's time for me to mention Medically Correct before we take our next break, right? So Medically Correct, the maker of the Incredibles bars, they kindly sponsor our show. I love those things. I wanted to mention I saw that they were included in the packet at the Secret Cup, which was very excited. So like, each bar has a mix of sativa and indica in it, right? They're blended so that everyone gets their own experience, right? Their potentness all get out too. And they're made from high-quality ingredients by real chefs that know what they're doing. Check them out. You come to Denver, check them out.
Nice. Yeah, we appreciate their support. So cool. Let's take a commercial break, a little break, and then we'll get back into it. We're going to talk more about Proposition AA while Larisa's here.
Yes.
Smoke some more, talk to Dain. It'll be awesome. We'll be right back.
Cannapunch is a delicious and effective medical marijuana beverage proudly made right here in Colorado. Each bottle is freshly infused with 100% pure flower extract from the highest grade marijuana plants available today. Using proprietary extraction methods, every bottle of Cannapunch is consistently and reliably infused with an exact milligram dosage that you can count on to relieve your symptoms each and every time. Cannapunch is delicious. There's never any medicine-y taste. We use only 100% cannabis flowers. No trim or byproducts are ever used in Cannapunch. It does not require refrigeration and comes in convenient, resealable multi-dose bottles from 60 milligrams to 200 milligrams. We have drinks with dosage that works best for you. Cannapunch is available in a variety of delicious flavors like black cherry, watermelon, pineapple mango, and blue raspberry. And we now have strain-specific beverages available just for you. Cannapunch is delicious, convenient, consistent, and effective. Give it a try and experience the Cannapunch difference.
High up in the Rockies is beautiful Frisco, Colorado. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies is a medical marijuana center with compassion for Colorado's medical patients. Looking for great meds grown organically in soil? You've come to the right place. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies is just off I-70 at exit 203. Check them out at the web at www.mmrockies.com. Their ever-changing strain and clone selection is updated on the website daily. When making a trip to the mountains, no matter the season, stop by Medical Marijuana of the Rockies. Make sure you say you heard about them on iCannabis Radio. You can call 970-668-MEDS to get more information. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, your mountain source for meds.
Whether you are a commercial grower or cultivate as a hobby, No-Dough Urban Garden Supply is Denver's first stop for your hydroponic grow needs. With a wide range of products including House and Garden, Botanicare, and Fox Farm, their knowledgeable staff can get you started on your first garden or help you with your well-established business. No Dough Urban Garden Supply is located in downtown Denver at 1330 27th Street, 4 blocks north of Coors Field near MMD of Colorado. They are open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 303-296-3424 or visit them on the web at www.nodoughurbangardensupply.com.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
Hey, yo, we're back. We are back with Reefer Madness Radio, and we're joined now again by Larisa Bolivar, who is the executive director of the No on AA campaign. How you doing, Larisa?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So the campaign is in full swing, and the election is just a couple weeks away. People have received their ballots at home, and you and I have had this conversation so many times. So I'm just gonna put this out there. Please tell us in 3 words or less, why should we vote no on AA?
Taxes too high.
There we go. Taxes too high. So please elaborate, would you?
Yeah. Well, when people voted for Amendment 64 last year, they voted for excise tax of up to 15%. Up to. The law says excise tax shall be imposed that's capped at 15%. So, up to. But there was no mention, and it said that the General Assembly shall enact a tax, but there was no mention of a 10% sales tax, and there certainly wasn't a mention of a 15% sales tax, special marijuana sin sales tax. And so now we're looking at a 15% excise tax that's going to be taxed on wholesale transfers. And those taxes do get transferred back to the consumer.
Right. Because the cost increase happens at a lower level along the food chain, if you will, it still gets transferred up the chain to the customer.
Yes. And so then you're looking at an additional 10% sales tax with 5% on top of that can be raised or increased arbitrarily without voters' approval.
Right.
So if the government decides they need more, SUVs, then they can say, hey, let's raise this, percentage point and let's get these SUVs, right?
Yep.
We don't have any say, and that actually violates the Tabor Act, which the Tax Payers Bill of Rights is a unique act to Colorado that gives citizens the right to vote on all tax measures.
Yep.
And so we feel that this is a bit excessive. Now, the most important thing is that all of these taxes are on top of existing sales taxes. So whatever locality you live in, expect to pay that much more.
Right.
And so the argument for, which is a very valid argument, is to avoid federal intervention. The people that support Proposition AA have been working nationally for legalization, and this is how they feel that we're going to avoid federal intervention. However, the research that they're citing is all biased and based on revenue generation for state governments. So whether it's Colorado or whether nationally or internationally, there hasn't been much research done on economic growth. So I think it's a bit of an overreach because it's assuming that a reefer madness type of policy where we're going to need more in the beginning without even having evidence. We don't even know actual economic growth.
Right, we have no idea what the numbers are going to be, but just trying to put some numbers together in my own head, it seems to me they're going to be fairly astronomical, and I have to ask, what is that money going to be used for? We have a caller, Sam. Who do we got? Go ahead, caller. Hello, caller.
Speak.
How's it going? Maybe not. No.
Okay.
That's my question. Is what's going to be the final number? Because right now in Denver, if you go buy an eighth, you're looking at a 7.62% tax for medical marijuana. So $35 eighth, it ends up being $37. It's actually tax is not that bad. But if you're talking about 7.6% on top of 15, on top of 10, on top of 3, is that the number?
Yes. And so in Denver, we're looking at over 52% sales tax or total tax rate. There was a study done, and they showed that in Larimer County, and for an eighth, it's going to be $7 more, and for an ounce, it's going to be $40 more. And in the reality of those costs, $7 is a meal. $40 is groceries for a few days. So we're looking at some significant costs that are going to impact a lot of people.
I think we have another caller. Speak, caller, please.
Yes, hi. How you doing? This is Miss Green Jean.
Hey, Miss Green Jean. Thanks for calling in.
Jack tax is crazy. I mean, literally, I've read up on it and everything. It's tax on top of the tax.
Yeah.
And when the was passed, it was only one tax. And I take my replies out there as well.
Well,
No, right on. No, that's a good point. It just seems like there's 8 taxes they're putting on top of this. Like, what are we doing here? Like, go ahead, Dain.
I was just agreeing with you. It's ridiculous. Maybe if it was just for out-of-state residents, sorry everybody who doesn't live here, that might be okay. But still, with the way that the department or with the how MED has handled the money in the past with the last audits that we've brought up, with all the air marks and all the missing funds, I just don't trust them with that much money, and it's not necessary.
Right. What are they going to spend it on, right?
Yeah, that's the thing is like right now the entire medical marijuana economy or whatever, the businesses, they're regulated by the MED, the Marijuana Enforcement Division. That was the Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division, from a small cut of the tax and business fees from owners. So to regulate the retail side, why do they need another 30% of sales? Like, that just seems like that's crazy.
It's just a money grab.
that's exactly what it is. And it's a money grab by a small group of businesses here in Colorado. So they're trying to corner the market for themselves, and they're lobbying with the government for these high taxes. And they're really going to shove out all competition as a result. It's
all right,
greedy.
caller, go for it.
Hey, it's Jack from Virginia,
and
I just wanted to say that this is all economics. You know, the government, you know, they care more about making money and profit and income rather than the citizens' health, and that's why they're coming up that's why they're illegalizing it, and then they're coming up with all these, you know, stupid amendments to just like milk the cow. You know, get more money out of its citizens just because they want to, you know, enjoy a little bit of cannabis.
Hi, you said your name was Jack?
Yes.
Yes, I'm from Virginia also. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. I just finished doing a tremendous amount of research I'm getting a master's in public policy, marijuana policy, and I did a lot of research on potential economic growth in marijuana, and everything I found was biased towards, and I mentioned this earlier, revenue growth for government. There's no actual real-time research to predict potential overall economic growth in a free market economy, because it's been illegal and that research hasn't been done. So now they're like, well, let's just go ahead and grab this money because we were making this much money off of prohibition. We're going to lose this much money because the government operates like a business. So let's recoup our expenses on this end so that we keep our jobs. Whereas there's plenty of crime. There's plenty of jobs, you know. I'm a woman. There's lots of victims of sexual crimes and kidnappings and all kinds of things that money can be appropriated for. You know, we don't need to have this crazy amount of taxes for them to, you know,
police the weeds.
Police the weeds, yeah.
You know what's crazy is that, thanks for calling. Did we have another caller, Sam? No?
Yeah,
okay.
No problem. Thanks.
Thanks, Jack. What drives me crazy is that I try to make it a point to go to as many of the public events as I can. Over the last year, I've been building my brand, right? I also cover a lot of these events for the Daily Doobie, right? And so I must say I've been to a lot of these events, and never once has there been a need for a police officer, right? I went to one very early on where the police were called because someone showed up against a restraining order, right? But there was no violence, there was no hubbub, maybe a few sharp words. Go ahead, Larisa.
I'm sorry, I'm sitting here all anxiously because I could just hear people saying, oh, well, what about the shooting at the 420 rally?
You know what? That was not weed-related, that was gang-related.
And I wanted to really...
it's just we have to emphasize that because that was an unfortunate event, but it was not associated with the 420 rally except for the unfortunate happenstance that it happened there.
And with 80,000 people.
From what I've heard, it didn't happen. There was actually a second report that not a lot of people seen. It actually happened outside of the Civic Center Park, not really in the group of people that were celebrating.
But just because there was a gunfire when there's still a few thousand people just hanging out, and it's like
scared
in downtown where it probably echoed. It was, I mean, a couple of gunshots probably created a bunch of chaos, and it sounds like the chaos was a lot more to blame for like a lot of damage being done and a lot of the problems.
And that's what the media chose to cover. They didn't really get much,
Right,
coverage on
but
the
we
site,
have
so.
events on a monthly basis. Hell, on a weekly basis here in Denver. There's always a cannabis-sponsored event. You can go to Castleman's. You can go to the Hood Lab. You can go to Cervantes. I believe even El Chapultepec every once in a while has a nice event, right? There's the Wright Center, the Exto Center. There's so many places that you can go all the time. Down in the Springs, we just went to the Easy Bake Lounge. Is that what it's called?
Easy
Vape
Vape
Lounge,
Lounge,
right? Right? So, and across the state of Colorado, you can find these venues. And my point is that you're not finding violence at these venues. You're just not.
Yeah.
Right. So why do we need SWAT teams, and why do we need all this money to buy more SWAT teams?
Well, and then I don't see a whole lot of business owners that why do we need money to what are we going to have 10 people go check up on a grow and on a retail thing to make sure they're doing their job?
They're not hiring personnel. That's why there's such a backlog at the MMED, right? Because
but they could.
They don't hire the people to do the work. They just hire the
$75 fee you pay to get your license. Would that not? I mean, it seems like for a business that takes a half an hour's worth of an employee's time.
You would think.
You would think that let's hire 5 more people and let's crank this more out.
You'd think.
I don't get why they don't do that.
They have a raffle right now. If you guys didn't know.
Oh yeah, I just went through the whole process, man. It took me 7 visits, 7 stamps to get my badge. Right. That's a topic for another time.
Yeah,
for definitely sure. But I think it's really important to emphasize that you're not seeing violence associated with cannabis in Denver. We're not seeing gangs moving in and trying to take over. We're not seeing the mob. The black market can rear its ugly head if we allow it to.
So I was going to say the people that are for the tax say, well, the tax is what's going to regulate the business. We need the regulation because that's what's going to keep the black market from flourishing. But I see it the other way around where it's the higher price.
Yeah, too much tax is going to send people back to the black market.
But I used to own a dispensary. In fact, one of the first in the state. and quite honestly, these dispensary owners police themselves. I had people coming to my dispensary trying to buy 2 ounces at a time, one day after the next, and after the second day or third day, I would stop them and say, hey, I'm not your marijuana wholesaler.
Right
Stop
on.
coming here. I don't need that kind of attention. And then, I've actually had threats from gang members, and I would call the police. The industry wants to be legitimate.
That's right.
And it's just like what you say. There's no need for an excessive police force. And what they want to do with these taxes is they want to create a marijuana enforcement division.
Right.
So now you're looking at revenue enforcement officers collecting tax dollars or, using taxpayers' dollars to enforce marijuana regulations, and they have badges and guns. What makes that different than a police officer? Why do they need guns?
Right. I'll tell you what, one day when I was in there, I was kind of mad that I had to leave and come back yet again. And I threw a little attitude at the man with the gun, and he threw a little scary attitude right back at me. And I was in a mind to say, hey, yo, dude, don't shoot me now. I'm just voicing my disgruntledness, no need for the fisticuffs.
Yeah, I mean, a legitimate business, if you're going in there to check to make sure that they're not operating more, they don't have more than 6 plants per patient, or if they do, they have paperwork for it. Why do you need to show up there with any sort of anything other than a couple of people in a little Prius? They can, you know what I mean?
Those car to goes will work just fine,
exactly.
right? They're all over the city.
They need 6 to 10 people to go around to these businesses to make sure they're doing it right. They can rent those little electric cars and it'll be fine.
Yeah,
where's the money?
It just goes back to the reefer madness approach.
That's right.
That's
exactly right.
Fear mongering. We're going to need the reefer madness, and the fear on this side is these enforcement. I don't know what else to call them besides an officer, walk into these places, and what do they think they're walking into? A Mexican cartel?
Right.
These
I'm sure the experienced Denver police know. But I want to say it's important to acknowledge that we do need a tax, and we need enough of a tax to get the $40 million to pay for the school initiative, which I think is a great thing, right? Yes to taxes. No to AA. If we vote no on AA,
that was gonna be my
it'll
question.
send it back to the legislature. The state will go through with its legalization, and they'll default to the regular sales tax, which is what they would have to do legally. That's 7.6%. Let's see how much money that actually generates, because I think it'll be enough. right? And then if we need to increase it from there, let's talk about that 15% that we originally wanted to put in Amendment 64, right? Then we can talk, even 15 plus the 7.6, I'm down with that. But this extra 10 and the extra 3, and then the extra this and the extra that, I just got to ask whose hands are reaching into those pockets, right?
That's exactly it, and that's the other part of this campaign is the shady side of it. These mass donations. We just issued a press release on our website, and you're getting donations, a $10,000 donation from the Food and Commercial Workers Union. $1,000, each from different business owners, and it just has to, it puts into question what are they talking about behind our backs that we don't realize? What are they legislating? Why
Citizens
are they,
United in action for you right there, folks.
And then, they're arguing, this isn't special interest. Well, I'm sorry. If I give somebody $1,000 or $10,000, I have an interest.
Yeah.
So
Let me tell you, I donate like $25 to my political favorites. I have an interest.
Yeah.
Okay? If you cast a vote for a political figure in this country, you have an interest. If you listen to the news, God forbid you should do such a horrible thing to yourself, you have an interest, right?
Yes.
If you participate in our social order, you have an interest and a right to talk about it, eh?
Mm-hmm. Right? So instead of, letting these high taxes pass, just like what you say, to appease these special interest groups and the government, we have proven with medical marijuana that this is a very calm industry. There's not people running around killing each other. And, just like you say, start with a reasonable tax, and if we need more, go from there. But as the government has shown recently in this last shutdown, it is very difficult to reduce the budget. So do we really want to have to go through that? I've heard supporters of AA say that, after these taxes pass, we'll just legislate to get them lower. I'm like,
no,
that's
won't
not going to
ever
work.
happen.
Well, no, the government should just shut down because of that. And you're going to get, and this was during the shutdown, and this person gave me that argument during the shutdown, and I'm scratching my head like, really, there's a bigger world outside of Colorado. First and foremost, we have a perfect example of what it's like when we ask a government to, reduce their budget, and I can just see the same thing happening in Colorado.
Yeah.
And they say that we are an experiment state. What kind of precedent are we setting? Our country, this
we
state,
need to
and our
set
country.
the right example, and so far we have been.
Mm-hmm.
But if the voters just roll over for this, and that's what really kind of gets me, is because a lot of voters think that they're not rolling over, they're actually doing the right thing. And it's because I agree that we need a tax, and we need a decent tax. But they're being fooled into thinking that, this 40% is decent.
But let's say you have these $40 eighths, and then so a tourist can buy an $80 quarter plus tax, and if it ends up being $110, I don't know, Dain, if you're from Indiana and you come to Colorado and you have a $110 top shelf quarter,
that's what I used to pay. I used to drive into Michigan to get it. So.
Yeah, so some people are going to be like, well, why are we in Colorado? What's the complaint about? Let them have Mary Jane Elementary and Jack Harrer High School, and let the government make sure it is regulated. But I think it is it's just unfair. It doesn't matter what the price is.
It's not the visitor to Colorado that I'm concerned about. It is the people that live here, and there are a lot of people that live here that want to use cannabis, that don't want to get on the medical registry, right? That aren't going to be able to afford it. But they will be able to on the black market. And let me tell you something, you can get some really dank weed in Colorado on the black market. You really can, right? And you've always been able to, at least for the last 20 years that I've lived here, right? So, I think it just needs to be critically thought out a lot more. I really do.
And that's a great point, because there's not enough critical thought out there to pull from. The research out there is just not available. And the potential for economic growth can be profound, because the studies that they use to determine how many people smoke pot are usually from drug abuse research agencies, right? So, and then if they're using other polls, you always have a margin of error for self-reporting. And traditionally, marijuana smokers are, have been too paranoid to admit that they smoke pot.
Right.
So you have all these variables, and that they're not considering. They acknowledge in their research because they have to, but in my experience growing up, there's a lot of people that smoke pot out there, and there's a lot of people out there that don't admit it. And this is a creative industry. You've got all these opportunities for boutique industry growth, with these top shelf strains that we're talking about. There's so much potential for economic growth, and if we overtax it in the beginning, we're cutting our nose to spite our face. And it's ridiculous approach. It's not responsible. It may be responsible if you're being beholden to the federal government, but it's being irresponsible for United States citizens, for Colorado citizens, because this is a potential for a boon economy. And if we can get over our fear, we can actually let this economy grow and actually bring real job growth, real manufacturing jobs back to the United States. And this is critical for our survival into the future. Having, a monopoly on marijuana and having these Walmart, Target type stores is not a responsible approach. It's just it's mass producing, and then it's you're forcing with these unions and what have you, you're forcing a workforce to work at a certain rate, and you're just stifling all this creativity, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I would agree, because there's this memorandum for the first couple years where only current business owners are kind of be in the game for recreational. So I would rather err on the side of a lower tax and a lower price point and just more economic stimulus thing going on than a really high price and then err on the side where we're going to make it lower when big business can get involved.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So, folks, if you really, asking for these high taxes, they're trying to appeal to us psychologically by saying, hey, we need to be legitimate. So let's vote these high taxes to be legitimate. I say voters, consider that we already are legitimate. We spoke, we said we wanted legal marijuana. It is now legal. Come January 1st, it will be legal. We are going to have it taxed. So as responsible voters, let's look out for our fellow man and let's see the potential economic growth for this. Vote no on Proposition AA. Demand a more fair tax that we can vote on separately. We should vote on a separate excise tax, and we should vote on sales taxes separately, because when people voted for Amendment 64, most of them were okay with that excise tax.
Yep.
This, as I like to quote Sean McAllister, this Ferrari with the Pinto tied into it or fused into it is just unfair to voters. It undermines I know, right? It's kind of a funny analogy, but it undermines the will of voters, and
it was a deliberate ploy, right?
Yes.
At the beginning, putting the taxes together was a deliberate ploy to try to derail Amendment 64 to begin with.
Yes.
Right? But they couldn't do it, and they were stuck with it. They were stuck with this horrible two tax in one structure that they had put up there.
Yes, because people have to remember that the general legislator that passed this, or the General Assembly, or the legislators, and the people that are supporting these taxes, a good majority of them were against Amendment 64, and they actually try to repeal it. So, it questions the integrity behind the people that support Proposition AA, who also supported Amendment 64. It makes me question their integrity. And some
I
of
don't
these people
question their integrity as much as whether they've really thought this through.
And that
because
could
I
very
wonder
much be
about, the powers behind it.
You know what? That's actually a really good point, because I don't want to question their integrity either, because some of these folks are really good friends of mine.
Of course.
Historically being a grassroots activist. You're right. I think maybe they didn't think it through. You've got a lot of big industry coming in and lobbying for money. A lot of our voices, grassroots voices, weren't listened to in coming up with these regulations. And, we don't have the type of money to buy into the attention of these legislators.
Right. Which makes me really hopeless feeling that we're not going to win our campaign, to tell you the truth.
It's bought out. Our campaign was bought out.
It's so funny because everyone's saying, we need to keep the black market out, and the way to do that is with higher taxes. But no, it makes me think the way this is being ramrodded through, it makes me think there's a power behind it that's saying, if we get Amendment 64 to fail because no one's going to buy legal weed because it's too expensive, then we'll be able to reinstate prohibition. You just wait and see.
Well, the marijuana prohibition nationally began with the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. The
tax stamp.
Yep, the tax stamp. So this is just a way of we're just going right back in a circle to marijuana prohibition.
Fear is a big part of it. That's something I wanted to say too. I also know a few of the people behind the scenes on the Prop A, and some of them probably just feel like if it doesn't get passed, they won't get recreational at all, and they're willing to do anything to get it. And I don't think they're operating with enough foresight to see what they're actually doing. Like you guys said, it's always going to go up. And in my personal opinion, I feel like you're just inviting a cancer and inviting in another government bureaucracy, another agency that's just going to keep growing, and like I said, higher taxes evolved. I think we should take this back and we should re-vote on it. And also, I'm curious to know, does that affect their 2-year window if we don't get the tax passes and 2 years goes by? Does that mean when the taxes do get passed, anybody can do it legally? Or, because from what I've heard is if they don't get passed, then recreational won't go forward in January.
That is
That I'm not
absolutely
clear.
incorrect.
Good.
Amendment
Glad
64 is a
clarifying.
constitutional amendment.
You can't repeal a constitutional amendment legislatively. You have to do it with another amendment, right? So it will go forward. They'll have no choice but to default to the same tax schedules that they use for medical cannabis.
Which is perfect.
Yeah, because again, you're looking at like these. It's just the medical. Some dispensaries are choosing to either switch over to only recreational or a dual license. That's really the only option. So it's not like, I mean, you're going to see. It's not like a new industry. It's just the industry is growing. So they should be able to regulate themselves the same way they're doing it now. With the same
And they
taxes,
should have a
with the same
pretty good idea of what it
business
takes.
fees. All these 50, 60 dispensaries that are applying to do this, like they've paid a substantial fee already. They already have hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to play around with already.
Yep.
Every dispensary owner that I've spoken to has mentioned a number well into the teens that they have paid for their licensing.
Yeah, I've heard up to 18,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I think they're generating a lot more money than people realize is what I think is happening. Right.
Yeah.
And like, what is that? What is 18? Like, if you're a business and you paid $15,000 or whatever to, like, what did that go to? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what does that get you? You get all these fees, but then like, you know, that's going to be used to enforce your business later on. Like, so what was the tax for?
$4,000 chairs.
Yeah, $4,000 chairs.
Or was it 52 SUVs?
Yeah.
An SUV is somebody's salary. You know, and actually, a case in point here, I sent out hundreds of letters, like 600 letters, 700 letters to different dispensaries to do some fundraising for this, and 139 of those came back. Now so a stamp for each of these was 66 cents, by the way, Sue, and then of course all the copy, the paper that I had to pay for. And I'm thinking, wow, they're supposed to be enforcing all these dispensaries, and they don't even have the right addresses because this list came from the MMED.
Wow.
So, and they want more money. In my experience in corporate America, when you don't do your job right, and you get fired.
Yeah.
You don't get a raise.
No, you certainly don't.
Unless you're in the banking industry.
Yeah.
Wall Street, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, we're like, you're not doing your job right. How about if we were to triple your salary? Would you be able to do your job right then? How would that
Wait,
work?
that is kind of what happened on Wall Street, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
I think a lot of things need to be rethought about in this nation of ours.
Well, it makes me wonder if some of these people in Wall Street are behind these taxes too, because they're impervious to failing at their job. Then why not just
fail out here too?
Fail out here too.
I tell you, there are a lot of investors waiting to get in.
There are.
To get in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's pretty amazing. Wow, you guys. Sam, I know we missed our last break. It's okay. Right on. It's past 7:10. That's for sure.
It is well past 7:10.
And it's
So
past
much for that.
7:32. And you guys, I want to get back to the Secret Cup because that's just where it's happening tonight.
Friday night in Denver. Yeah, it's great. This was an awesome show. I really like this. Dain, thank you for being on.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it. This is awesome. This is an honor. I've been watching this room for 3 or 4 years, as an aspiring cannabis enthusiast myself, wanting to get out here and get in the industry. So it's really cool to finally be here and talk on it.
Right on. Anytime, man. Come back again.
Yeah, anytime. Appreciate you bringing the edibles. You're a good friend, man. It's good
Yeah,
having
not
you
to
around.
mention all the smokables. And Larisa, too, thank you for being such a well-spoken representative from the campaign on No on AA. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being here.
Right on. And Mona, too. Let's not forget Mona. She's always here, always watching.
Third time's a charm. Third time we're going to get her involved. Awesome. No, it's good. All these good having friends. I mean, that's it's the Reefer Madness radio show. But, man, I just think this is cool. Just having a bunch of good people around, good friends, having a good conversation. I don't know. It's awesome.
Right on,
Really
man.
good show.